I still cry so much for the loss of my son. I cry at night when I'm alone. I cry when I go to bed. I cry when I wake up in the morning. I cry when I'm driving to a job and go by a place Joseph and I work together. I cry when I think how hard it was for him working with me and how tough I was on him. I cry when I think how hard his life was. I cry when I think how alone he felt. I cry when I think how much he missed in life. I cry when I think how good a heart he had. I cry when I hear songs that remind me of him. I cry because I'm never going to hear him play his guitar or sing again. I cry when I think of him being evicted because he could not pay his rent. I cry when I see a homeless person and know Joseph had times like that too. I cry when I see someone who looks homeless walking in the snow and remember the time I found him that way. I cry that he did not have a place to call home his last years. I cry when I think of how he really had nobody in this world and how alone he must have felt. I cry when I think of how he was always walking on eggshells when he was with people because he had no one. I cry on those miserable rainy days thinking about how he had to go out in it, take public transportation or walk to his job where he did not even make enough money to eat. I cry when I think of all those times I had to take him to the dollar store to buy food. I cry when I think of how many times he went hungry. I cry when I think how much he suffered in silence. I cry when I think of all I was not able to do for Joseph. I cry when I go to a friend's son's wedding and realize I'll never have that experience with my son. I cry when I see my friend's children living normal, happy lives and realize I'll never see that. I cry when I'm happy and think of how Joseph never really felt happiness. I cry when I think of Joseph as a little boy. I cry when I think about how hard he had it in school. I cry when I think how much pain and heartache he felt about his mother. I cry when I think about how much he suffered during his last 10 years. I cry when I think how tough his life was every day. I cry when I think about how scared he must have been every time he lost an apartment. I cry when I think how hard I was on him when he would ask for money, always lecturing him to get his life together. I cry on holidays when I think of how hard and alone his were those last years. I cry when I hear the Hall & Oates song, Man Eater, and remember playing that game, I'm a Joseph Eater, and pretending I was a crab eating him and how he would laugh. I cry when I think about him laying in bed as a little boy, unable to sleep because he was so worried about his mommy. I cry when I think of the times he got hurt and came home crying. I cry when I look at a date and think of how old he was then and what his life was like at that time. I cry when I think how hard he tried to make my life easier. I cry when I think of how hard he tried to make things better. I cry when I look at pictures and see all the fear that he was trying to hide behind the smile. I cry on his birthday knowing all he was going to have to go through. I cry when I think of him sick, with no one to take care of him, no one to give him sympathy, no one to do anything for him. I cry on the day he died. I cry when I think how awful that had to have been for him, how scared he must have been, and that he probably needed his father at that moment. I cry when I think of those times him and I went to the beach in Stewart together, and how happy he was. I cry when I remember him as a little baby playing and laughing with his daddy. I cry when I remember all those times I took him with me to stores and to pick up food during those times when his mommy was doing really bad. I cry because my little boy had it so hard. I cry when I think of how I was his only hero and I was not one at all for him. I cry to ease the pain, but it doesn't. I cry until there's no more tears left, but they never run out. I cry because I miss my son so much. And I cry for every parent who lost a child, and for the heartache you will carry for the rest of your life.
goes by, and yet I'm only standing alone, away from everything that I know. Seems like just the other day I was far away from here, just like standing on the beach, swimming through the waves, having no fear. But I know that I can't see. Leave me go and let me be. I've got to get away. The past I never liked, but yet I miss it. My life is blowing by like the wind. It took me all my life finding out what's right.